I am so excited for this month. We are going to be painting cactus, or cacti, cactuses, however you say it, that's what we're going to be painting. And this one really utilizes the wet and wet technique, which is really fun. So grab a variety of greens and let's get started. So I'm going to start with my greens. I've got permanent green, and I'm going to mix in some blues and yellows and different shades of green, but I want to mix quite a few so that I'm ready to go. The thing that can really hang you up with the wet and wet technique is you want to move quickly. So I'm going to make sure that I have several greens mixed before I get started so that I can quickly reach for a different green. All right, so I'm going to start out with my main green, and I'm just going to start with a brush stroke just right here. I've kind of curved off the top and brought it all the way down. And now I'm just going to pick up a different green and continue adding a stroke down. So every time I go to add to this, I'm just kind of changing up the color of the green. And it doesn't really matter how they all kind of blend together right now because we'll add some details later. But kind of every time I go back, I'm just going to vary the green. And varying the green could even mean adding a little bit of water to the existing color. So now I've got my main cactus shape here. I'm just going to let that dry all the way before I try and add any other additional details. Again, I'm going to be varying the greens all throughout these, so that's what I'm kind of doing, is just grabbing a mixture of different greens. Now for this shape, kind of rounding out the top. And then I'm bringing this out to a point here, and then scooping it back in, bringing it out to another point, scooping it back in. All right, now I'm going to kind of mimic what I just did, but on the other side. I'm also going to drop in just a little bit of color to add some depth. You could also do that with any of these. You could go back and add in a little bit of color if you feel like it needs it. Okay, this one starts out with a little bit of an oval. And then you just keep adding different ovals. Kind of like mouse ears almost. This one's probably my favorite one to paint. And you just keep adding smaller little bits. Okay, next one is just a rounded shape here, and I'm gonna leave a little scoop out of the top. I'm gonna add a little cactus flower to this one. And you can either do a bright pink or a bright yellow, bright orange. All right, now this is the last one. We're gonna be kind of mimicking the same kind of shape over here, but this one's gonna be a little bit taller. Okay, and now we just let this dry all the way, and then we're gonna come back and add some fun details. Okay, now these are mostly dry. I'm gonna be adding several different kinds of details to this. And the first one I wanna do is over here. This is mostly dry. Oh, that's not all the way dry. I'm gonna let that completely dry first. But what I'm going to do is just add a second layer right over the top. And that's just going to help break up the cactus a little bit. Okay, and then I'm just gonna let that dry completely again. And then up here, I'm gonna switch to a size 0 round brush, and I'm actually going to turn this upside down just because this is still wet and I don't want to mess with this, but if yours is completely dry, you don't have to turn this upside down. This is just so I don't get my hand all in this wet paint over here. But the same thing applies. I'm just going to be painting small little lines. Okay, now after I have these, I'm just going to start at the lines here and on the very edge to add my little needles. It's almost like adding little V's. If you didn't want to use a paintbrush, you could also use like a micron pen, if that's easier. I'm painting this upside down, so I'm making sure that because this is upside down, I'm pointing the needles a little bit more upward or downward because I'm painting them upside down. They're going to be facing more upward though when I turn this right side up. And then over here, I'm going to do a similar thing, but I'm going to follow the line, this kind of scalloped line here. And then at these little points are where I'm going to add my needles. And then over here, I'm going to mix this up a little bit too and just do little dots. I'm just gonna add a couple more little blossoms to the tops of some of these.